Hi, Blake here. I'm just going to talk about the vocals that I've been recording and manipulating for my reinterpretation project. The original song was sung with a Vocaloid, so it's a digital voice synthesizer that kind of sounds like a robot. It's a Japanese instrument, so most of the voices are in Japanese, but Porter Robinson sung along with one which is in the English language, so they're incredibly clean and sterile and, yeah, extremely robotic, obviously, so trying to emulate that myself was a little bit of a challenge.
Who survived?
The initial recordings are actually done in FL Studio, which I can't be bothered recording it because it is a pain to get FL Studio to communicate with OBS. So basically I did a lot of different takes, tons of takes, more than I would like to admit, and then I just imported those samples into Ableton, which is viewable in this folder here. So there was 10, I think, original vocal takes, and I deleted a couple and then just ended up going with these ones, which are the not muted clips here. So the original song starts with the Vocaloid saying, "Oh hi." It's a female voice in that as well. So basically I had to pitch my voice up and auto-tune it and kind of try and break it to get it to sound as digital as possible. It sounds like this.
Is anyone there? Oh, hi.
So this one's pretty straightforward. This is just the original sample. If I pitch this back down, it sounds like this.
Is anyone there? Oh, hi.
Right, yay. If you pitch it up an octave without it warped, it will literally just get faster as you'd expect.
Is anyone there? Oh, hi.
And these are, I think, the same line, but just stretched differently. So on the Beats warping algorithm, it will start to sort of replay the same bit when you pitch it up. So that is this layer. I'll solo it here.
Is anyone there?
So that repetition is caused by the algorithm just trying to keep up with the pitch. If you go higher again, it'll get weirder.
Is anyone there?
So I did that to a few different layers just to kind of get this weird sort of texture feeling under it.
Is anyone there?
This is also accompanied with a grain, I think, at the moment. So if I go into this layer here, I'll talk about this in another video, but all of that sort of harmonic stuff you can hear in the background is this.
Oh, is anyone?
But yeah, cool. So moving on to the verses, basically it starts like this.
Who survived? Somebody new. Anyone else but you. On a lonely night.
Very heavy auto-tune in the background here. I'll solo the vocal layer so we don't get confused, but fairly straightforward. I just remove some of the low end and then some of the sibilants as well. Moving on to the second part of this verse, there's a formant shift which is taken directly from my reference tracks. So Underscores, the original artist, very frequently uses formant shifting as an effect. So in this instance, it is the deeper vocal which comes in up here.
100 liters would be born of you.
And though I know, since you've awakened her again, she depends on you.
So that formant shift there is applied with this M Auto Pitch plugin by Melda. It's actually pretty slight, but the effect's definitely notable. That is, yeah, pretty consistent throughout this. I think it actually lends like a better quality to the song itself. So in context, it is this bad boy.
Born of you.
And though I know, since you've awakened her again, she depends on you. She depends on you. She'll go alone.
And then I slowly introduced this secondary take here as well, which is a double track. Oh, solo that bad boy. Yeah, so as this progresses through this, I've just introduced the double track here, which doesn't have the same formant shifting on it at all. It's a much thinner vocal. So at the very end of this, that drops out and then just leaves the clean vocal there and then the clean vocal above it. So that sounds like this.
Speak of this again, we depend on you.
We depend on you.
Yeah, so this is, I guess, where it gets fun. One of the production techniques that I had outlined that I wanted to try initially in my genre analysis was using voices with distortion and then trying to use them kind of as an instrument instead of a voice. So there's a few different layers here in a few different groups, I just realized, so I'll try and tackle these as neatly as I can. basically this layer here that I've highlighted in a different color is the entire, I think it's this take, which sounds like this. So what I did to achieve this was, I believe I got this entire strip here. I'll try and move this over and see if I can replicate what I actually did. In Ableton Live, you can double or halve the speed of something. So that at its initial speed was this. So I sped it up and halved the time, which got me this. Now obviously melodically that is way too fast, so what I did was I grabbed them and then spread out the vocals to where they would start if they weren't twice the speed. If you listen to it without that being soloed, you'll notice that there's a bunch of other clean versions of this that are sort of sprinkled between them. So what that is Ableton's Simpler. So this is a sampler, and on different modes it can achieve different things. If you put it on slice mode, this one down here, then it will pick these points which you can adjust with the sensitivity down here. So at this exact sensitivity, these lines will trigger different parts of the sample with different notes. So in this MIDI clip here, I just drew in, pretty much just screwed around with these. And then found a little hook that I thought sort of fit there. So that's what that is. And then after that, I did a version of this where I put guitar rig on it and distorted it as though it were a guitar. Sorry, that's probably very loud. And then I resampled that and recorded it into this other track, and then used the distorted and clean versions to sort of play off each other in order. And a good chunk of that as well is if I solo this sparkle and vocal channels. It's these little bits of repetition. This is another thing that I got from my reference tracks as well, which is using them as rhythmic elements.
We depend on you.
So that is something I've been wanting to try for a little while, especially since doing the genre analysis, and it worked out pretty well. The next part of this, I believe down here.
I don't know much about your life beyond these walls.
Is just a double-tracked version of that verse, but I was a little bit more confident in singing this part for some reason. I think it was just because I'd had half an hour of singing in my room by that point, so these were a little bit cleaner, but I got a distorted version of this and created a chain. So you can think of this as just parallel. So there's a clean chain here with absolutely no effects on it. If I solo this one, mute this chain here.
I don't know much about your life.
But then in this chain, I've got a distorted version. And then using the volume of the affected chain there to just sort of mix them in, and then using that as a double take underneath the clean version.
Much about your life beyond these walls. The fleeting sense of love within these godforsaken halls. And I can hear it in his voice in every call.
And it's worth noting that both of these have some formant shifting on them as well as the heavy auto-tune that was on them from the recording session there. So the pitch correction on this was weird. I did note while recording it that the cleaner the vocal was, as in the less rasp there was in my voice, the better the auto-tune software that I used, which was FL Studio's NuTone, the better it would respond to them. So because my voice is kind of croaky anyway, those little creaks and stuff in my voice would end up confusing the living hell out of the algorithm that was trying to pitch correct them. Like I just found that the cleaner the takes were, the better the overall vibe was, particularly since I was trying to emulate a lady robot, I guess. Yeah, there's some more stuff that I did, but it ends up in the realm of granular synthesis and resampling. So I'll touch on that more in the next one. For now, that should cover, I think, most of the bases with what I did for the vocals for this section. Cool. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.